Welcome to Headliners Forum. We're here to bring you the best in Texas journalism, the stories behind the great stories. I'm Mark Morrison. Our special guest is Tony Plohetski of the Austin American-Statesman and Austin's KVUE TV. He is a double winner in this year's statewide Headliners Foundation contest for his investigative reporting about the Sheriff's Department in Williamson County, just north of Austin. The series was called Lights, Camera, Violence, to reflect how reality TV of law enforcement can lead to bad results. He won this year's Gold Showcase Award, competing with all Texas media, and also a Charles Green Award in competition with Associated Press newspapers in Texas. Tony, congratulations for these awards and your many prize-winning efforts over the years, and thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me and giving me an opportunity to talk about our work over the past year.
Could you start by sharing a little history of Sheriff Robert Chody and how he developed a national TV following?
Absolutely. So former Sheriff Robert Chody was once an Austin police officer. He joined the Austin Police Department in the late 1990s. And one of the things that is so key to him is that he won the Texas lottery, $52 million in the early 2000s. Soon after that, he left the Austin Police Department, actually spent several years volunteering before running as a constable in Williamson County. And then several years ago decided to run to become sheriff of Williamson County and was successful. He defeated several opponents in an open seat in the county. One of the first things that Williamson County Sheriff Robert Chody said he wanted to do was to bring the TV reality show Live PD to Williamson County. The show was growing in national fame, national prominence, and the sheriff really believed, or what he said at the time, is that he really believed that this was a way to showcase the good works of the deputies in his department. And so he was able to convince then Williamson County commissioners to approve the contract with the show, and Live PD and its relationship with the Williamson County Sheriff's Office was then off and running.
And for a while, they were getting an audience and no real problems. But then there were some cultural changes that seemed to be happening in that sheriff's office that resulted from the high profile of their department and basically being in showbiz.
Yeah, so initially, at least, it seemed like everyone thought this was a great idea. The sheriff's office and Chody himself hosted community events, Live PD watch parties where popcorn was served, and you know, basically he and some of his deputies who were stars of the show grew in national fame. Their social media accounts exploded, and they became very, very popular, not only in their community, but really across the nation as stars of this show. So at least initially, there was a lot of enthusiasm in Williamson County for the sheriff's participation in Live PD. But as time went on, public sentiment in the county began shifting among some, and some people began wondering whether or not this was really portraying Williamson County in the light that it wanted to be portrayed in, or whether or not it really kind of cast the county as crime-ridden with lots of crime problems. And so people really started having changing attitudes about it. As you can imagine, there were also citizens of the county whose loved ones were arrested on Live PD. And so over time, people did begin really questioning it. Another huge question that came into play that ultimately became a huge part of our coverage as well was what happens to the video that Live PD captures when it is riding out with deputies. Does that become part of the investigation? Does it become part of the case file? There were growing concerns about the ability to get and maintain those videos as well. So over time, just the confluence of a lot of different factors that ultimately made Williamson County commissioners really pull the plug on the relationship with Live PD.
Yeah, and really, you chronicled very well in your series how there was actually a spike. It seemed like playing to the audience, really, or playing to the camera, with more chases in cars, more arrests, breaking down doors, and things that might play well on, make the television footage a little more exciting.
That's right. Once we were able to dig in, we began really showing how the culture of the department and policing by the department shifted during its relationship with Live PD. As you mentioned, we were able to chronicle that pursuits, vehicle pursuits went up, use of force incidents went up. We were able to chronicle a no-knock arrest of a young man who had been in court earlier, hours earlier. He could have been peacefully arrested at the courthouse, as defendants frequently are when they have a new warrant for their arrest. But instead of arresting him, what we were able to determine is that the warrant for this young man was actually kept out of a database. So no one saw it when he went to the courthouse. And instead, just a few hours later, deputies, while the cameras rolled, went in with a SWAT team and canines and busted down the door to his family home and dragged him out while the cameras rolled. So there was just a lot of activity that really became highly objectionable to many residents in Williamson County.
So you had been following this unusual sheriff for quite a while, actually, when you got a kind of a troubling tip about the death of a 40-year-old Black father who had died while in custody. What was the nature of the tip, and how did you proceed with the early reporting?
Yeah, so this incident, the death of Javier Ambler, is actually what kicked off most of our investigative reporting around the sheriff's office and its relationship with Live PD. So I want to go back to February 2020. Keep in mind that this is months before the nation's attention turned to the death of George Floyd, the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis. I received a tip about an in-custody death that had occurred involving Williamson County Sheriff's deputies and Live PD. And what I was initially told is that it involved a pursuit, a vehicle pursuit, over a minor traffic infraction. That traffic infraction ultimately turned out to be failure to dim your headlights to oncoming traffic. But it took many months before we were able to get any real information in the case. The sheriff's office refused to release basic information, including the offense report with basic information about what happened that night. In addition to that, they appealed to the Attorney General's office, which is required when a government agency refuses to release records. Months passed, and it was not until about mid-May 2020 when we were able to get some records in the case that did give greater corroboration about what happened that night. And it really did spell out that deputies, two deputies, both of whom had Live PD film crews in their cars, chased Javier Ambler in a pursuit that started because he did not dim his headlights. Over the course of that 22-minute pursuit, he crashed his car several times, but ultimately they crossed into the city of Austin. Deputies used their tasers on him 4 times. He was a 400-pound man who had a heart condition. He had congestive heart failure, and ultimately he died, all while crews from this reality TV show Live PD filmed. As we got these documents, our reporting obviously gained new momentum. And at that point, I also began aggressively pursuing any video evidence in the case as well. And what we were able to learn is that there was one, count them, one body camera video that was available. It's actually from an Austin police officer who showed up at the scene as it was unfolding. That officer responded to request for assistance. Initially, law enforcement would not release that video to me, but working very aggressively throughout the month of May 2020, we were ultimately able to obtain the very graphic video that showed the final moments of Javier Ambler's life.
Had some of the video disappeared, or was that not proved?
There is an ongoing criminal case about live PD video and whether or not it was destroyed in this case. The former sheriff, Robert Chody, as well as the county's general counsel at the time, have been indicted for what prosecutors say was their role in destroying live PD video. It's important to note that they vigorously say that is not what happened at all, that they played no role in the destruction of that video. But Live PD and the production company that made the show do confirm that the video was destroyed. So the only real video evidence we have in that case is from that, the most vivid video, I should say, we have in that case is from the Austin police officer's body camera, which is a real, again, a really graphic view of what happened.
Yeah, well, this is journalism that obviously had a lot of impact. And tell us about what happened to the celebrity sheriff and some of his officers when you broke all of this story.
Well, we really saw a rapid response on a number of different fronts. Within 48 hours of us broadcasting and publishing our first reports, the producers of Live PD canceled the show and pulled the plug on Live PD. It has not come back, and it's still off the air. But in addition to that, prosecutors very quickly after our publishing and airing of our reports also opened an investigation into the destruction of the Live PD video. That culminated again in the September 2020 indictment of the sheriff and of the county's general counsel. The sheriff went on to be defeated. He was up for election at the time, and went on to be defeated in the November general election. Williamson County elected a new sheriff, its first Democrat in more than 25 years. Ultimately, the sheriff and the county's general counsel were indicted subsequently here in Travis County on evidence tampering charges as well. And the two deputies involved in the case were indicted in March of this year, 2021, on manslaughter charges as well. Perhaps one of the most enduring things that happened, though, is that lawmakers, do you hear my dog? Sorry, do you hear the dog barking?
We'll cut that out, don't worry.
Sorry, I think he's done. Okay. One of the most enduring things that happened, though, is that Texas lawmakers filed legislation banning reality television shows from partnering with law enforcement agencies in the state of Texas. And the Javier Ambler law passed and was signed by the governor.
Yeah, and of course, on a broader scale, together with the George Floyd incident, there was really kind of a national uproar about police practices and questions about racism in police and law enforcement. Share with us your view of some of these changes in thinking about police and policing.
Yeah, so, one of the things that really became clear to me is that just the huge public sentiment that we saw coming out of controversial cases in Austin and across the country, and the reform movement among policing really did gain new momentum. Here in Austin, reformers who had tried for many years to have a voice at City Hall finally got one. And so as we here in Austin kind of talk about police reform, a lot of that is still really unfolding, and the community here locally has not really gained a consensus about what it ultimately wants in a modern police force. As we have seen over the past year, so much of this has become intensely politicized, moving from the Austin City Hall to the state capitol, with new legislation passed banning cities from significantly altering police budgets. So that is part of the conversation that continues happening in our community here now.
Right, but certainly there's some positive reform being discussed and being proposed and even being implemented. But some of the political reaction in terms of slashing police budgets and foregoing prosecutions, driving a lot of older cops to quit, and making it very hard to recruit new ones, new quality people. And it seems like when crime is decriminalized, crime seems to rise. Are these trends a concern? Is that going to sort out in the marketplace of politics and ideas?
Well, we can only hope that it will be all sorted out. And I just want to say, I just had a new series of stories that came out in the Statesman and on KView talking about police reform and really trying to dive deeply into some of the issues that you raise with regard to police staffing, crime, and the future of the department as well. And, I would just encourage people to become educated on these issues, the nuances of these issues. They are extremely complicated and can be really viewed through a lot of different prisms. And so it is a very unique conversation that we are having here. And it is a very important but very complex conversation we're having.
Absolutely, and this story is far from over, and you're not finished reporting it. Thanks so much for joining us. From this site, you can link to the entire Statesman KView series and to interviews with other award-winning Texas journalists. For Gary Pickle, producer of Headliners Forum, I'm Mark Morrison.